Hey guys, this is Brendon from Chaparral Bang Training. We're going to talk about a gun that I've been using for about 6 to 7 months now, and it's the Springfield Armory 1911 double stack Prodigy, right? This is one of the, I would say, economy line, right, of 2011s out there. You can't even call this a 2011 because technically staccatos are the only 2011s, right? That's why they call it 1911 double stack. So let's talk about it. It does take staccato magazines. So here's the staccato generation 3 magazines right here. I put it in, it fits, right? So it does follow that same type of frame where you have your fire control unit, or you have your module in the middle, you got your frame, and then you have your slide on the top, right? So typical 2011, whether it be Atlas Athenas, staccatos, whatever. Not saying that they're as good as that. Due to the price point of this 1911, a lot of the parts are molded injected, I think, right? Or injected molded. May not matter as much, but that can mean that a lot of these things are not hand fitted. And what I mean by that is that they're coming out of a factory. No, they get fitted, they get assembled, and they get fitted to a certain extent, right? So here's what I mean. When I first got the Prodigy, right, it would jam after a certain amount of rounds. I think it would jam at about 20, 25 rounds on the second magazine. The reason for that is as it's starting to get gunked up, it's not hand fitted, so the slide is actually very rough when you're going back and forth. So they say it's a break-in period, so I said, fine, break-in period, let's shoot 1,000 rounds through it, right? Just out of curiosity. After 1,000 rounds, sure, the slide is now smooth, but the problem is that the disconnector in the back here is super strong. Like I said, it's not hand fitted, that would actually get stuck, right? So it would recoil enough and the disconnector would actually get the gun stuck this way, and to a point where it would hold it and it would not actually allow it to put another round into the chamber. So there's a couple of fixes to that. First fix they did was, hey, just get a stronger recoil spring. Sure, stronger recoil spring could work, but it's not solving the base issue, right? So the reason I'm going with the recoil spring right now, because it doesn't require gunsmith fitting, right? Change the recoil spring, shot it, still had the exact same issue. Talked to a gunsmith. Like I said, I tinker a lot, and I was able to polish that disconnector in the back, allowing the slide now to cycle extremely smooth, right? On top of that, I had to polish the slide as well in order for it to cycle properly. The next issue came is that the gun, after about 800, it would not reach 1,000 rounds without a failure to eject. So there's a couple things when it comes to 1911s that you have to learn. You do have to tension your extractor, which is right here. The problem with that is that if you don't know how to disassemble a 1911, by the way, that's not part of user maintenance, right? Or at least it's not part of user maintenance if you're coming from a striker fire gun. Tensioning it's actually quite hard, right? You have to look it up, you have to learn how to do it, or somebody has to teach you how to do it. I tensioned it enough and it still wasn't working, which is kind of sad because it's one of the few factory parts that I had to replace. And I did replace it with an EGW extractor, and that kind of fixed the gun. But like I said, at the price from where it's at $1,400 to $1,500, I don't think that the extractor should be it shouldn't be working 100%. So that's disappointing, to be honest. Second thing that would, because we are instructors, the one thing that I couldn't teach with the Prodigy back then was to disassemble it, because it doesn't have a toolless disassembly. Sure, I can take off the slide, but I have to use an Allen key in the front to be taking it off, which is, like I said, since you're paying that price point, is expected, but I had to upgrade that, right? So I upgraded it with a 10.8 performance reverse plug. Now I can disassemble it without needing external tools, right? So the problem with the Prodigy is that, one, it's at a price point where it is tempting. But like I said, if you don't know how to tinker with a firearm, or you don't know how to do gunsmithing work, you're gonna end up spending more money. For example, just polishing the feed ramp, polishing the rails and the slide, replacing the guide rod and spring, replacing the main spring housing, replacing the disconnector, those can add up a gunsmith's time, right? Let's say a rough estimate of 6 hours. At $100 an hour, you're at $600. And $1,400 gun, you spend $200 in parts plus $600. You tell me you're at a base price of a staccato. So it's up to you, right? Do I like this gun now? I do now, right? Because it's running flawlessly. I've broken about 1,800 rounds now without cleaning it, which is a great thing, right? I hate cleaning. But guess what? That didn't come stock with the Prodigy. You gotta know what you're paying for. And here's why it's relevant for Californians. I paid about $1,500 for you would pay $1,500 for this firearm outside the state. If you were, since this is not part of the roster yet, I saw this yesterday for about $4,000, right? So you're spending $4,000 on a gun that you don't know how to tinker with yet, right? So that's where the issue comes in, okay? If you're in outside the state, or if this becomes California legal and you can get it for about $1,400, maybe it's worth it, okay? Maybe it's worth it. Because if I did it, I technically only spent about $200 in parts. I got a reliable $1,600 gun, right? So, just something to consider when you're buying the Springfield Prodigy. Do I trust this Prodigy in my life? Absolutely. I love it, but that's because it's not that I love it because it's stock like this. I love it because I've worked on it already. So just be careful when you're buying your 2011, 1911 DS. Bargain prices may not necessarily be good for you, okay? Lastly, since you're coming in at a price point so low, people that are not usually shooting 1911s are now able to afford, or if not acquire, a 2011 or 1911 platform. And there's definitely a couple things. One thing that I learned, right, after taking a class about 1911 gunsmithing is that I probably destroyed my extractor by doing this back and forth as I was trying to break it in. So, is the extractor the factory's fault, my fault? Doesn't matter. Nobody told me. Somebody that's probably gonna buy the Prodigy, nobody's probably gonna tell them you can't do that. You can't drop this, slide, all that stuff. So it's super sensitive. It's good when it's good, but it's bad when it's bad. So just watch out what you're buying. Am I telling you not to buy the Prodigy? No, I'm not. I'm telling you that you can buy it, but just know that there are certain things that may or may not work from factory. So it's all about injected molded parts, so just think about when you're buying it. Like and subscribe to all our videos. We do a lot of videos. We release them every Tuesday. There's informative videos, gun videos, training videos, tactics videos, anything you name it. There's even videos out there where me and Ernie just talking about our feelings, right? Especially the Christmas videos. So, exactly. So like and subscribe in the TRB YouTube page, and go support local people, right?